As America celebrates Independence Day this week, I found myself thinking about another kind of freedom. Not political freedom, personal freedom, emotional freedom. The freedom to become the person you're capable of becoming. The freedom to make decisions that align with your values. The freedom to remain connected to people you love without surrendering your identity to them. Merriam-Webster defines sovereign as having freedom from external control. That's the kind of sovereignty we're exploring today. We're talking about identity expansion, healthy interdependence, emotional maturity, and the version of you that may already be equipped for more. So be my guest, grab your favorite beverage, and settle in with me as we explore what it means to become sovereign in your own life.
Becoming the magnificence in me, empowered, strong, and gracefully, with poise and elegance, I can see I am who I was born to be.
Welcome to Becoming Conversations in Elegance and Empowerment, a sanctuary for women who desire to live with purpose, grace, and quiet confidence. I'm Sine Singer, your host, author, and transformation guide. Gentlemen are welcome to listen in, but this space is intentionally crafted for the elegant woman becoming all she's meant to be. If this conversation resonates and you'd like focused private support, I invite you to explore private coaching. You can find more information anytime at becomingpublishing.com. Now, let's step into today's topic. Many women come to me when they're quietly realizing they've outgrown an old version of themselves. The relationships may still exist. The responsibilities may still exist. The opportunities may even be appearing. Yet, something inside them knows they are no longer who they used to be. Sometimes they describe feeling restless. Sometimes they describe feeling stuck. Sometimes they tell me they can see the next chapter, but they haven't fully stepped into it yet. I think many of us assume growth happens when circumstances change. In reality, growth often begins when identity changes. The external world usually catches up later. For years, I thought becoming meant adding more confidence, more courage, more skills, more experience. What I've come to understand is that becoming is often about allowing yourself to step into who you've already become. The opportunity appears, the invitation appears, the next step appears. The question becomes, will you allow yourself to walk through the door? At the end of 2023, I promised myself that I would walk through any door that opened to me. Shortly after making that promise, I was approached with the opportunity to be in the Woman of Achievement and Miss US pageants. Integrity is a huge value of mine, and since I already promised myself that I would walk through any door that opened, I said yes, in the face of all the backlash, ridicule, and discouragement I was experiencing from many women around me. Had I not said yes and went through the experience, I wouldn't be looking at the National Miss US crown displayed in my office right now. I wouldn't have met many wonderful women during that experience. But most importantly, I wouldn't be able to trust myself when I made promises. This is where sovereignty becomes important. Sovereignty is not control. Sovereignty is not dominance. Sovereignty is not telling other people how to live. Sovereignty is having freedom from external control. It's the ability to govern your own life. It's the ability to make decisions that align with your values. It's the ability to remain true to yourself even when others disagree. The elegant woman understands something important. She rules her own kingdom while bestowing the grace to others to rule theirs without her interference unless they ask her for advice. She minds her own business and extends others the dignity to mind theirs. She doesn't attempt to govern other people's kingdoms. She focuses on governing her own. That is empowerment. It's like the old country song expresses, mind your own business and you won't be minding mine. I find it vitally important to have the freedom to rule our own choices based on the values and rules of our own kingdoms. We can't do that when we're allowing others outside ourselves to call all the shots based on their values and rules. I invite you to stay with me because next we're going to explore what psychology and family systems research teaches us about sovereignty, identity, and healthy connection. If this conversation is resonating and you recognize yourself in what we're discussing, I invite you to apply for private coaching. I work privately with a small number of women each season who are ready to rebuild confidence, strengthen emotional boundaries, and make clear decisions in life and love. This is structured, focused work, not surface motivation. If you're navigating heartbreak or life transitions and you want grounded private support, you can apply at becomingpublishing.com. I personally review every application. One of the most important concepts in family systems theory comes from psychiatrist Dr. Murray Bowen. He observed that emotionally healthy adults develop what he calls differentiation of self. Differentiation allows a person to remain connected to important relationships while maintaining their own values, beliefs, goals, and identity. In other words, healthy adults stay connected without disappearing. That's sovereignty. Family researcher Dr. David Olson reached similar conclusions through his circumplex model. His research found that healthy families balance cohesion and individuality. Too little cohesion creates emotional distance. Too much cohesion creates enmeshment. Healthy families exist somewhere in the middle. As I'm talking about family systems, I want to remind you that I'm not talking exclusively about families. I'm talking about all systems such as workplace systems, friendship systems, romantic systems, social systems, religious systems, and others. Years ago, when I first started talking about enmeshment, I often found myself thinking about Pepe Le Pew, the Looney Tunes skunk cartoon character who was enamored with a female black cat who had a white stripe of paint spilled down her back. No matter what the cat wanted, Pepe assumed they should be moving in the same direction. You couldn't tell where he ended and she began. His body language wasn't just, I want you. It was more like, I want to own you. His body language wasn't just, I want you. It was more like, I want to own you. Many enmeshed relationships operate the same way. The unspoken message from the enmesher becomes, you must think like me. You must feel like me. You must choose like me. You must want what I want. If you're not with me, you're against me. If you choose differently, you're rejecting me. If you disagree, you're abandoning me. We see these messages a lot today in politics and religion, but I've also seen them in many relationship types. When it comes to relationship advice and discussions on this topic, the focus is always on the behavior of the enmesher. What I've never heard answered is the question, what happens to the person trying to escape it? I'll answer that here. The black cat or person being enmeshed is thinking, please leave me alone. The enmesher often interprets that as rejection. The black cat experiences it as survival. That's a completely different experience, and the person being enmeshed is often paying a very high price to maintain or regain their sovereignty. Not necessarily because they're weak, not necessarily because they want to stay. They put up with this treatment, usually because there are consequences attached to freedom. Sometimes those consequences are emotional, relational, cultural, religious, and social. Sometimes it's all of them at once. I've been through this in many different circumstances, and I can tell you that the price is high, whether you stay in the enmeshment or leave. Getting help from enmeshers came at too high a cost to my freedom and being. For me, my sovereignty was more important than a paycheck, status, appearances, approval, or popularity. Only you can decide what's most valuable to your kingdom and your future. Once you determine that, I suggest that you do the best you can to formulate a plan to stay or go. Many people never discuss this side. They focus on ways to manipulate the other person to get what they want. I will never tell you to do that because we have no power over other people, their behavior, their choices, or their kingdoms. I intimately understand that there are situations where autonomy comes with isolation, misunderstanding, disapproval, financial hardship, and loneliness. I see my young adult clients struggle with this a lot, and I have to tell my parent clients that their children are now 18 and older. They are legally adults, and the parents are now the fire departments. They are only allowed to come when called or invited. They don't have the right to patrol, inspect, or interfere at all unless they are invited to do so. I realize the transition of roles is difficult for some people. A parent of a child is often manager, teacher, protector, authority. However, a parent of an adult becomes advisor, mentor, supporter, trusted resource, and equal, or as I put it, the fire departments, only allowed to come when called. Adults get to govern their own lives. Parents can advise. Parents can mentor. Parents can support. Parents can love. Parents can pray. Parents can worry. What they don't get to do is continue governing another competent adult's kingdom. While these relationships are complicated, I can also tell you that they aren't the only kind. Healthy relationships do exist and are not just the focus of fairy tales. Healthy relationships don't require that kind of emotional fusion. They allow individuality. Healthy relationships allow differences. They allow all parties to have separate identities. Researchers Dr. Edward D.C. and Richard Ryan reached a similar conclusion through self-determination theory. Their work suggests that people thrive when 3 psychological needs are met: autonomy, competence, and relatedness. Autonomy gives us freedom. Relatedness gives us connection. Healthy people need both. Too much autonomy without connection can become isolation. Too much connection without autonomy can become enmeshment. Sovereignty lives in the middle. Safe people don't require ownership. They don't require conformity. Safe people don't require emotional fusion. They allow separateness. My husband is the current example of that in my life, not because he agrees with everything, not because he's identical to me, but because he shows me the grace that allows me to remain myself. What I'm describing to you and advocating for is actually respectful separateness. The modern conversation often swings between 2 extremes. Enmeshment says, all outside people get a vote. All outside people get an opinion. All outside people get access. All outside people get to interfere. Or hyper-independence says, I don't need anyone. Leave me alone. I'll do everything all by myself. Neither is healthy. The framework I'm presenting is sovereignty plus interdependence. This sounds more like, I love you. I respect you. I value our connection. I appreciate your wisdom. I will make my own decisions. From this space, we can begin to view our fabulous future self with more confidence. We are giving and receiving love and support instead of pouring out all the water in our pitcher into someone else's and not having it replenished. Psychologists Hazel Marcus and Paula Nurius contributed another helpful concept through positive selves theory. Their research suggests that people begin moving toward identities they can clearly imagine. What this means is that the clearer your future self becomes, the easier it is to act in alignment with that future version of yourself. Sometimes the version of you that's ready for more isn't waiting for additional confidence. Sometimes she's waiting for permission. Permission to stop pretending she's still the woman she used to be. Like I tell my clients, you don't need permission from anyone outside yourself to make decisions for your life. However, if you really feel like you need it, then I give you permission to step into the version of yourself that you see in your mind's eye. That fabulous future you who you can see clearly is waiting for you to step into and experience all the wonderful adventures that await. If you're navigating a season of growth, uncertainty, or personal transformation, the Clarity Reset was created for moments exactly like these. It's a 50-minute session where I help you see things clearly and decide what next steps to take. You can learn more and book your session anytime without an application at becomingpublishing.com. I invite you to stay with me because next we're going to explore what stepping into the future you looks like in practice. Many of the ideas we're exploring this season are expanded on in my newest book, Becoming Lavishly Loving, available on Spotify, my website, and most online booksellers. It explores intuition, emotional boundaries, and protecting your inner world with elegance. For women who are ready to apply this work in real time, not just understand it intellectually, I offer a private 3-month coaching container where we rebuild confidence and clarity from the inside out. You can learn more and apply at becomingpublishing.com. Growth often feels dramatic in hindsight. Most of the time, it feels quiet when it's happening. Many times in my life, it has felt like nothing was really taking place until I woke up one day and realized how far I had gone from my previous place. Here are a few suggestions I invite you to consider as you're stepping into the fabulous future you. Number 1, pay attention to when your current identity feels too small. Many times the discomfort isn't coming from failure, it's coming from growth. Number 2, notice recurring invitations. Opportunities often arrive before we feel ready. That doesn't automatically mean the opportunity is wrong. Sometimes it just means we're growing and we need to say yes and do it afraid until we begin to feel comfortable. Number 3, practice healthy interdependence. You don't have to choose between dependence and isolation. Healthy relationships allow connection without control. Number 4, allow yourself to outgrow old labels. You are not required to remain who you were 5 years ago. Growth changes people. That's normal. I encourage you to decide what label you're going to wear in your new chapter and don't allow others to determine that for you. Number 5, respect other people's kingdoms. You are allowed to make your own decisions. Other people are allowed to make theirs. The elegant woman rules her own kingdom while extending the grace for others to rule theirs. She believes, your kingdom is your responsibility. My kingdom is mine. Number 6, keep your crown on and stay on your throne. You do not step down to be chosen. You do not abandon yourself to keep someone comfortable. You do not surrender your sovereignty in exchange for approval. Many women come to me when they're quietly realizing they've outgrown an old version of themselves, but haven't fully stepped into the next one yet. If today's conversation sparks something inside you, I invite you to continue this journey with me through the Becoming podcast by subscribing to the show on whichever platform you use so these conversations can meet you in the moments when you need them. If the ideas we've explored today resonated, I invite you to explore my latest book, Becoming Lavishly Loving, where I go into detail about governing your own kingdom. It's available on Spotify, Audible, most online booksellers, and you can get autographed copies and exclusive bundles in my online store. If you're navigating a season of growth, change, or personal transformation, the Clarity Reset was created for moments exactly like these. You can learn all about it and book your session at becomingpublishing.com. If you're a podcaster or community leader looking for thoughtful conversations around emotional wellness, relationships, self-worth, and personal transformation, I'm always open to aligned guest appearances and speaking opportunities. If you found something enlightening in this episode, be my guest and share it with your fabulous friends who could benefit from these conversations. I also want to thank FeedSpot for recognizing Becoming, Conversations in Elegance and Empowerment as one of the top 20 elegance podcasts for 2026. Actually, right now, I am ranked at number 9. I'll leave you with this reminder. True sovereignty isn't isolation. It isn't emotional distance. It isn't proving that you don't need anyone. True sovereignty is having freedom from external control while remaining deeply connected to the people who matter. I encourage you today to keep your crown on and stay on your throne. And remember, this is where awareness begins to become something more. Thank you so much for spending time with me on Becoming, Conversations in Elegance and Empowerment. If something in today's conversation spoke to you and deeper focused support feels right, I invite you to explore private coaching at becomingpublishing.com. Until next time, stay elegant, stay empowered.
Becoming the magnet.